Am I the jerk for not putting them together? I'm getting married next year, and I've organized for the bridesmaids to be partnered with the groomsmen for the reception entrance in a dance. I love the idea of dancing with my soon-to-be husband, surrounded by those who have supported us. Bridesmaid Stacy insisted on being paired with groomsman James. Stacy and James have hooked up at my partner's parties. I always invited Stacy because she does not have many friends outside of me. James was clear that their hookups were just for fun and not leading to a relationship. Despite this, Stacy continued hooking up at every party for years. As wedding planning progressed, Stacy repeatedly requested to be partnered with James. I felt cornered into agreeing. James recently moved out of state, and my partner stopped organizing as many gatherings. Concerned for Stacy's social life, I introduced her to my friend group. She initially hesitated but eventually fit in well. At our engagement party, James visited, and Stacy became jealous when he talked to other women. Later, after their regular hookup, she confessed she wanted to tell James she loved him. I advised against it but acknowledged her feelings. Months later, James informed me he did not want to be partnered with Stacy because he was now in a relationship and wanted to respect his partner. I struggled to tell Stacy, knowing she wouldn't take it well. Another bridesmaid, Jenna, wanted to be partnered with James. Jenna had a messy breakup with my partner's brother, Billy, who is also a groomsman. She felt uncomfortable around the groomsmen and knowing she is at a wedding with the ex's family. Partnering her with James, who treats her civilly as the others do not, seemed like a good solution. I informed Stacy of the change. She made excuses, but I explained my decision, aiming for equality among bridesmaids. She then gave me the silent treatment, accused me of valuing others' feelings over hers, and remained distant. I asked my DJ to shorten the song to 40 seconds to make her more comfortable. Weeks later, a friend told Stacy about a private conversation where I mentioned her feelings for James. After weeks of silence, her claiming James was just a rebound, I asked if she would still like to be in the bridal party. Stacy accused me of not valuing her, brought up unrelated issues, and then left the wedding completely. Feeling hurt, I sought advice from my best friend, who revealed Stacy claimed to be harassed by all the groomsmen. After confirming with all the groomsmen and them providing evidence of it being false, as most of them have never spoken to her, I decided to distance myself from the friend group. I now hang out with friends individually and don't want them to choose sides or make Stacy feel excluded. But for my mental health, I do not want to see her again. Am I the asshole? I think you are not in the wrong here. Please do not waste your time with this kind of nonsense. Stacy is a grown-up and responsible for her behavior. It's your wedding, not a platform for her to be dramatic. Cutting ties with her is warranted, and doing so in a way that doesn't put your mutual friends in the middle is thoughtful. Honestly, with the bridesmaids and the groomsmen basically all having messy and unhealthy relationships with each other, you should just cancel the dance. Am I the jerk for not finishing a cup of coffee my partner makes? Background: I have always struggled to finish drinks, whether it be soda when I was a child or now sparkling water and coffee as an adult. I forget that the drink is there, and either the soda or sparkling water loses its carbonation or gets warm, or the coffee reaches room temperature and I need to microwave it 3 times. I am a girlfriend, 35 years old, who lives with my boyfriend, 40 years old. We have been together for 2.5 years and living together for 1 year. He has gotten upset at me many times for not finishing the coffee he makes me. I have made a concerted effort to do better over the last year. Upon waking this morning and asking if he would make the coffee, he responds with, "No, you didn't finish the last 2 coffees you made for yourself. Why should I make something you won't finish? It's rude to me." To my dismay at his answer, I plead that I would really appreciate it if he would make some for us and that he can give me a much smaller amount to ensure I will finish. He continues to say how rude I am to not finish things and that he feels I do not appreciate what he makes, even though I literally say thank you every time and genuinely like what he makes. After the back and forth, I surrendered to making my own because I am not happy to be criticized first thing in the morning. He then goes to say as I walk to the kitchen, "I'll make it. You just better finish it, and I don't feel like you have convinced me you're going." I continue to start the French press process by boiling water in the electric kettle. He then takes over and I confront him, saying how it does not feel good to be criticized first thing in the morning. Later, he comes to my office and drops off the biggest full cup of coffee on my desk. I say thank you and look up to him to see if he has anything to say further to me. He repeats his points from earlier. I return with a question of, when was the last time I did not finish what you made for me, coffee or otherwise? He had no answer because I have been better about at least finishing the coffee he makes. I say how I understand he thinks it's rude, but I do not get why he is so upset that I did not finish 2 coffees I made for myself the previous days. He thinks it's evidence that I won't finish his. I can kind of see his point, but at the same time, why is this the hill he wants to die on? Why is it so offensive to him? I decide I am going to go for a walk with the coffee he just made to get my frustration out and process. As I am getting dressed, I tell him I am going for a walk, to which he immediately jumps down my throat and says, "Oh, so now you're gonna leave and not drink the coffee I just made you?" I reply, saying for him to stop making assumptions and that I plan to take it with me in a thermos on my walk. I ask him why he seems to view me as some rude person. He just proceeds to say how I do not listen to him and that he thinks I am not appreciative of what he does because I do not finish my coffee and that it's rude. So, internet, am I the asshole? You did nothing wrong here. What's wrong with your boyfriend? Is he this controlling and punitive about everything? Or just this one weird thing? How is not drinking all of your coffee affecting him other than he just doesn't like it? He sounds exhausting. Am I the jerk for using my partner's special soap? So I, a 31-year-old female, stay at my boyfriend's, a 37-year-old male, place pretty often for long stretches of time. I also use the guest bathroom and have some of my stuff in there like a toothbrush and makeup. Well, of course, when I use the bathroom, I wash my hands. I have been using his liquid hand soap that's in a Disney soap dispenser that makes a Mickey foam pattern when you dispense it. It's running low, and today he noticed and got really mad that I've been using it. Apparently, it's special soap he got at the theme parks and he doesn't even use it. Apparently, that's why he keeps it in the guest bathroom because it's special and not meant to be used every day. It's more for display. I was pretty confused as I have never had special soap, and I just assumed the bottle next to the sink labeled liquid hand soap was what I should have been using. He got angry, raised his voice and said I should be using the bar soap available. Sometimes I do, but Dove isn't my favorite. He also seemed confused as he says having special things for display like display soap, display towels, and display dishes is very normal. He is from a wealthier family, so maybe that is the norm for him? I apologized and offered to buy a refill of liquid, foaming hand soap. I was sorry I didn't know it was special. He never said anything about it in the months I've been here. He also argues that I should have asked if it was okay, but it has never occurred to me to ask permission to use soap as I've never had to do that before in my life. I just saw a bottle of hand soap next to the sink, and I thought it was regular soap. He's still pretty mad. He even hid the bottle from me and said I can't use it anymore. If anyone is wondering, I have seen these exact bottles go for brand new on eBay for like $15, $20. It's a Disney 50th anniversary item, and although it's a neat bottle design, I wouldn't say it looks like it's obviously special or rare. But am I the asshole for not asking if it's okay to use the soap? I've never had common items labeled as off-limits in my house, and I've never known anyone who has something like that except when grandma keeps a tea set in a locked display cabinet or something similar. Definitely, you are not in the wrong. Your boyfriend sounds pretty uptight, and his expectations about the soap are pretty unreasonable. If it's not meant to be used, then it shouldn't be on the counter. It's not a reason to break up, but definitely a red flag and a situation to be monitored with forethought. Am I the jerk for screaming at my parents during vacation? The title makes me sound like a total asshole, but please bear with me. To preface, we are East Asian. Respecting your parents is a big part of our culture, so I know what I did was wrong, but I need to know if it was at least justified. I, a 17-year-old male, was on vacation with my father, a 55-year-old male, my mother, a 52-year-old female, and my brother, a 12-year-old male. It was a road trip to be precise. It was 4 days, and we were on the second or third day when we were driving to the beach. We had just come back from a rope course, and there was very heavy traffic. My mom said to wait in the traffic because if we went right, there was a little town where we could get lunch. My dad wanted to go left and get out of the traffic, but we stayed in the traffic for about 10 to 20 minutes. Turns out my mom was wrong and she had gotten the places mixed up. They started fighting over that. My dad was upset because he wasted his time in the traffic, and my mom was upset because she apologized and he was still dragging it out. I did not really want to get involved, but they just kept going. I tried to get them to stop reasonably. I spoke to both of them and tried to calm them down appropriately, but the fight escalated. Eventually, my mom was crying and my dad was shouting. It was hot, maybe 80-90 degree F, and we were all tired and hungry, which definitely made things worse. I kind of snapped and started yelling at both of them to stop. To be fair, it was pissing me off because they had not been fighting much recently, certainly not like this, and I was really upset that they were fighting over something so stupid. I told them that, and then they both got mad at me. Then they went back to yelling at each other, and my dad decided to roll the windows down while my mom was yelling and crying. At that point, I was too pissed off to care much, so I was essentially just screaming at both of them to stop it. I told them they were being unreasonable. It was a stupid thing to fight about, and my mom already apologized, so why were we still dragging this out? They kept going. My dad was mad at me for taking my mom's side, and then my mom got mad at me for raising my voice. I was really stressed out with both of them going at each other like that. Eventually, after I told them to shut up and stop fighting several times, not my proudest moment, they stopped. I was extra nice to my mom after because I did not think it was her fault, but she was still mad at me. In fact, she was mad at me for days after the vacation. She was nice to me, do not get me wrong, but she still brings it up, this was 1 to 2 weeks ago, that I raised my voice at her. I feel very guilty and I know it was wrong, and I have told her I did not mean to, but half the time I was defending her. I enjoyed the vacation a lot, but that was very much a sore spot and turned the whole day and half the next day sour. I feel like it is partially my fault, but I just wish they did not do that. Am I the asshole? Your actions don't make you a jerk. It's never easy being caught in the middle of parental arguments, especially in high-stress situations like traffic. You tried reasonable measures first and only yelled when those didn't work. aiming to defuse a situation spiraling out of control. Yes, raising your voice wasn't ideal, but it came from a place of frustration and concern, not malice. Am I the jerk for not offering my bridesmaid dress to someone else? I, a 28-year-old female, used to hang out with Jill, a 27-year-old female. But when she started dating Jack, a 31-year-old male, no one could hang out with Jill without Jack. I said it wasn't acceptable for him to be in control, and she said it was because he loves her. She must have told him because when I saw him, he said I was jealous that my boyfriend wasn't that romantic. After dating for a month, Jack proposed. I told her I thought it was very fast since he was her first boyfriend. She said I was jealous. 2 days later, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was shocked, but strangely I said yes. I hate wedding showers, but I agreed to plan one since I was the maid of honor. After the party, multiple people said it was awesome. Jill said I didn't put enough effort into it, but I shrugged it off as her being stressed. She wanted help with our dresses. I told her about the ones a friend had, and she got almost the exact dress. The only difference is these are shin length, not knee length. I asked if the maid of honor could have a different length. She said she didn't want her maid of honor looking inappropriate, so I had to buy a new dress. 3 weeks before the wedding, she called and said I haven't been supportive of her and Jack, so she doesn't want me in the wedding. Even though I didn't really care about the wedding, this made me angry, and I finally lost it on the Bridezilla. Are you kidding me? I've done everything you've asked, and ignored Jack watching my every move. You've known the whole time I thought things were going too fast. Why would you wait until now to tell me you don't think I'm supportive? I walked out. 2 days later, Jill apologized and asked me to be a bridesmaid, not the maid of honor, since she had already told another bridesmaid she could be. Not thinking, I said okay. Friday, I showed up for the rehearsal. We rehearsed the ceremony, which took 3 hours. Partway into dinner, I had a seizure. The restaurant called 911, and Jill's cousin called my brother. Apparently, Jack was upset, and Jill yelled at the waitstaff for moving her tables to make room for the medics. My brother showed up, and the medics said I could go with him. He told Jill I might not make the wedding because it can take a day or two to recover from a seizure. Jill yelled at my brother and told him I had to be there for at least her pictures. He said, yeah, that's a hard no. Later, I had another seizure, fell out of bed and hit the nightstand. My boyfriend took me to the emergency room since I was bleeding. Saturday, Jill called me to find out where I was. My boyfriend answered and said I was at the emergency room. Jill screamed at him about ruining her wedding, so he hung up on her. Sunday morning, I read my texts and voicemails even though my boyfriend said I shouldn't. There were many from Jill and Jack saying I ruined their day by faking a seizure and lying about going to the emergency room. She wanted me to send her my discharge papers to prove I didn't leave before the wedding. A couple of people checked in to see if I was okay, and others said I was a jerk for not finding a replacement. Am I the asshole for not offering to give her my dress so she could find someone else? You did nothing improper. It's surprising that anyone would question the behavior here. Jill's actions are far from normal. She's not a friend worth keeping around. Consider blocking her and finding better friends going forward. Am I the jerk for causing a colleague I got along well with to get fired? I, a 22-year-old male, don't want to say what I do for a living because it's complicated, but I work in a small company, and I am something of a manager responsible for a team of 8 people. A couple of months ago, we hired some guys. All of them work from home, and the job is pretty easy. One of those guys, whom we will call M, was from Indonesia, and he lives in my home country. We were getting along well, and there was nothing wrong going on. I trusted him with the work a lot. Then one day, he had to get back to Indonesia. Since he went there, he wasn't able to really work and most of the time did not show up at all. I asked him what was going on. He said his mother was losing her ability to walk, so he had to help her everywhere. Thinking I would also prioritize my family first, I gave him some time to figure it out, but did not inform my supervisors that he had been absent for a couple of days yet, risking myself to cover for him for a bit. It happened 2 more times, and I had to talk to him again and again to work it out while trying not to be rude. It has been way over 10 days at this point that he was absent and was getting paid for it. Then I never heard from him for another week. I stopped trying to be nice and understanding because it was getting out of hand. I was going to be responsible for this. I talked to him first, asking what was going on. He apologized for his absence, saying he was trying to adapt to his situation. At that point, I was still willing to give him one last chance and offered a solution, but I also informed my supervisor as well. My supervisor did not take it very well, and he immediately called it off, saying N had to go. So I unintentionally snitched on him and had to give him the bad news myself, which I hated. I still feel bad about that because I am not really a confrontational person, so I tend to try to get my point across while being nice. That sometimes gets misunderstood with whatever I'm complaining about being okay somehow. So I felt like a piece of trash, and my heart sank when I realized I caused him to get fired. He said that he understands and appreciated the help up until that point, but no matter how many times I read it, I always saw, you had to screw it up. So what do you think? Am I the asshole? OP, your actions were justified for firing the employee, But you are the jerk here, OP, for avoiding your responsibilities and putting strain on the rest of the team. As a manager, it's crucial to address issues promptly to maintain team productivity and accountability. While showing empathy is commendable, prolonged inaction negatively affected the team's performance. Informing your supervisor was necessary, and you should seek training on resilience in the workplace. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.